And now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
This is the RBLR Rays podcast. I'm your host, Zach Doblo, and my co-host, Pat Davenport. And Pat, I'm kind of panicking here. I just saw a trade coming up where we traded Cash for Tristan Gray. Like, what?
Who's going to manage the team?
Who's going to manage the team? Oh, wait, hang on. Cash considerations. This is why you double check. This is why you double check.
He's actually our number 28 prospect. Cash considerations. Sorry.
That was terrible. I just had to do it. I'm gonna pretend I am better at humor in the future. But for now, weird week of Rays baseball that we just went through.
Yeah, weird week. This is not quite the pre-trade deadline pod opening that we had last year, but we might be in for a similar situation over the next few days in terms of we might have to take a look at a few players and wonder what their future with the team is like. I mean, last week I said at the end of the pod, catastrophe situation. What if we lose 2 of 3 to the White Sox and stumble through the next week? We might have to think about selling. And we both said, we probably would if that happened. But imagine losing 2 out of 3 to the White Sox.
Imagine that.
And it weirdly, this all comes at a time after Eric Neander publicly said, hey, if you go out and win, we'll go out and buy for you. The Rays then responded to that by playing their worst stretch of baseball of the whole year so far, losing the opener to the Reds last night, losing 2 of 3 to the White Sox. And while they took 2 of 3 from the Orioles, it's been a rubbish bunch. It has been a rubbish bunch of games, but a rubbish month of July in particular. And I think we've got to talk today about, with the trade deadline looming later this week, and the Rays like to get their business done before deadline day, they're probably going to make their mind up on the team probably by the end of this weekend. Mm-hmm. Is there any chance that the Rays add reinforcements, or do we start thinking about 2026? I think that's going to be the main topic of today's show. Yeah. But we'll also talk about a few other things as well.
We will. We'll talk about the transactions that have been going on during the week. The end of the White Sox series in particular, we're going to discuss because it was kind of dramatic and some dramatic things happened afterwards. It was a very, very strange ending to that series. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the draft picks that we have now signed. Pat's got some great stuff on draft stuff. We're gonna go over that. We're gonna do Bat and Arm of the Week. We got a jam-packed show for you guys. We're so excited that you guys are spending some time with us on your Saturday. We appreciate you all. If you've got some thoughts on any of the things that we're discussing, hop on over to YouTube, drop a comment. We'd love to hear from you guys. Love to talk a little ball with you guys on this Saturday. But for now, we're gonna get right into it and recap a very sort of unfortunate is the only way I can think to describe it. White Sox series, a series where, I mean, going into it, you really thought we need to make some hay against a team that is, year over year, one of the worst teams in baseball. And unfortunately, I feel like we caught them in their one hot stretch of the year that they seem to go on, and just kind of unfortunate.
Yeah. They've scored the most runs in baseball since the All-Star break.
How about that?
They've been the best offense in baseball since the break and have played really well. I mean, after taking 2 out of 3 from us, they go and sweep the Cubs as well. So, and the Cubs are good. The Cubs are a really good team. So it's typical Rays luck that we've ran into a bad team when they're playing their best baseball. But also, the Rays, the one in that last game of the series is the one that really feels like it got away. When you're up 4-0 and then they bring it back, but then you don't let it get to you and take the lead, but then give it up again and then give it up again. That's one of those ones that'll make you tear your hair out for sure.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I say dramatic is because it was the game started the way, we've unfortunately seen games start a little too often when Taj Bradley is pitching. And I want to kind of go back and talk a little bit about Taj Bradley because we're going to have to talk about him a little bit because after this start, in which he went an inning and 2/3, gave up 4 earned runs, walked 3 guys, which to me is the real problem. That's what I'm kind of going to get into a little bit on him. He gets sent down to Durham after and almost immediately after the game, which I don't know. And I was going to throw it to you. Did that seem weird to you that like immediately after the game, they were like, you're going to Durham? Like that felt a little bit like that felt a little unraised like.
I think it must have been clear to the Rays that this was like, they were like, unless this guy absolutely shoves today, we've been like thinking about it and we've already kind of come to that decision before the game. So they were like, unless he comes out and throws like 6 or 7, allowing a run or less and like absolutely shoves, we're not happy with the way Bradley's been this year. And we think they've sent him down with a clear objective, which I think makes me think that this has been in the works for a while. And I think that's important because Bradley didn't seem too deflated by the news. And I think that's because the Rays articulated it in a way where they said, listen, your splitter's not working. It needs to play off your fastball effectively. Go work on it. And right now we need to win some games. So the current major league environment is not a place where you can work on it. You need to go down to AAA to work on it. And then you'll come back when that works. So I think this must have been in the works for a while. And let's be honest, Bradley's not been great for a while, really. It does feel dramatic. It does. That it happened immediately after the game like that. It's not very Rays-like. But I also am not too stressed about it because I think that means Joe Boyle just kind of slots into the rotation now instead of a multi-inning reliever role.
Yeah, I like that take a lot. That's a really good thought process on what they did there with him. And you make a great point about Joe Boyle, who's been excellent, really, since he's been up at the major league level. Kind of makes sense to make that move. And I think the thing that, to me, has always concerned me the most about Taj is that when he has a bad start, it feels like he just loses control and he gets out of sorts and he has a hard time getting it back. If you were to look at the stat lines of like say Shane Baz and Taj Bradley, they're very similar. Shane Baz has pitched a few more innings and he's done it in fewer starts, so he has gone deeper into games, which is good. But their stat lines are similar. But I think this is really an eye test one that I think if you're watching the games, I think you could say that I don't feel like Baz loses like it feels like Baz's mound presence is better when he gets in trouble. Taj, I always feel like once he lets a guy on, he starts to panic. Is how just in his body language, the way that he is not able to get it in the zone once he gets guys on base, that concerns me. So the idea of saying go work on your splitter because it will help you to have a better strikeout pitch and to work off your fastball a little bit better. And I would say I'd be surprised if there wasn't a element of, hey, we need you to work on your presence a little bit. We need you to be more confident when you let guys on base. One of my favorite things about Shane McClanahan, especially as he developed as a starting pitcher, was you always felt like even when, guys got on, he doesn't lose his cool. Littell is that way too. I mean, he gave up runs last night, unfortunately, but you never feel like, even if he's giving up runs, you never feel like he is panicking. Like you
Charlie Morton was really good at that.
That's a great example. Yep. And again, there is a bit of those guys have some experience. Shane, is younger, but he had a couple of years of experience to get to that point. It was one of the things as he was developing, we talked about, and one of the things that I said, I was really proud of him in his development for getting to that point because it was something he struggled with early on in his career. So that gives me hope that Taj can do the same thing, and maybe being down in Durham, Shane can mentor him a little bit. I don't know if that may be some of it too, because they're kind of on a similar career trajectory, even though Shane's a little ahead of him despite the injuries. So that maybe that's part of it too. But I think it's the right decision. I like what you said about, this may have been a long time coming, and this may have been something where he kind of knew it going into this game. This was a possibility. And frankly, the way Joe Boyle has pitched, you can't really deny him starts. He's just been really good. And it's like, we've said multiple times, like, hey, at least I've said, hey, it's small sample size. Let's see what happens when he gets up to the majors. Well, he kind of came to the majors and has shoved. So I really can't say much anymore. It's like, all right, well, I guess he's really good. Like, I regret to inform you that Joe Boyle is very good and he deserves to be starting. So as much as it's, it feels uncomfortable, the situation does, I feel like it's another scenario where the Rays are making the right move.
Yeah, 100%. I think this makes the team short-term better, and hopefully long-term it'll make Bradley and the team better as well. Yeah. Also, like on roster stuff, like this all kind of kicked off around the White Sox series as well. Brandon Lau officially on the IL again, battling a foot problem, and Ha-Seong Kim also going to the IL. They both they reckon that both those players will be close to the minimum amount of time, the 10 days. But the middle infield is ravaged once again, and we're back to a Cabby Walls type situation up the middle.
Yeah, and I don't think that it's a coincidence that in 3 of the 4 games that they have played this week, and really if you go back to the end of the Orioles series, that one too, you only scored 3 runs in 4 of your 5 games this week. That's not a coincidence. When Brandon Lau's not in the lineup performs worse. It's just not a coincidence. And the first game of the White Sox series, Boz had a blow up start, which which he hasn't had in a while, so that was tough to see that from him. You had a nice start in the middle of the White Sox series and some really nice bullpen work from Uceda and Pete towards the end of that game.
Yeah, an unconvincing win all the same. That 4-3 win.
Yeah,
was that the one where someone hit a fly ball right to the track at the end?
Yes, that is exactly what happened. Yep. Yeah, and so that was that game, and then really, kind of going back to the last game of the White Sox series, there was, at the time that the White Sox series was ending, Brandon Lau had not officially gone on the IL, and we were kind of like, as the game is ending, as we had some chances to win the game, which I could talk. I've about had it with umpires and with the replay center in New York. They're frauds. I no longer, I've seen it live. I'm sorry, I can't stay silent anymore. The league is rigged against the Rays. I just can't even, I don't know what, I have no other explanation. It's terrible. Anytime there is any potential for a call to be questionable, it always goes against the Rays every time. And it's it's beyond the point where it's like, oh, it happens to every team. No, man, it happens to us every single time. I can't remember the last time we got a borderline call. But anyway, the end of that game, we were like, can they get Brandon in here? They said he's not that hurt, and he wasn't able to get in the game. You lose that one on a, very tough junior at bat to end the game. Where I feel like we said this because I think that we had a very similar at bat at the end of the Orioles series, where he got some bad calls and then expanded and wasn't able to get it done, and so. It's just frustrating. It's just frustrating to watch that. And again, when you look at these games, that have happened this week, 3 of the 5 we could have won easily, I think. And there is definitely some discussion about, how long Kevin Kelly was left out there. That was a big talking point. You have any thoughts on how long Cash left Kelly out there?
I mean, for me, it's just, I feel like there is a lack of faith in the current bullpen in general at the moment, where unless it's Pete, I don't think there's many that you go, oh, we can get him for a lockdown.
Kind of feels like Pete and Clevenger.
Yeah, right. And even those guys are prone to a blow up.
Right. That's every reliever, but
that's every reliever. But Pete and Clevenger are your only guys, and you've got to be able to find some innings from the rest of your bullpen. In the playoffs, you can ride 2 or 3 relievers through every game, but in the regular season, you've got to be able to balance it because you've got to ride that line of you've got to win the game that's in front of you, but you've also got to keep everyone not completely gassed by the time the postseason comes around.
Right.
So it's a really hard balancing act. It didn't work this time. I mean, Kevin Kelly has not been that good this year, which is a shame because the previous 2 years he has been really good. And they needed a ground ball, and I feel like Kevin Kelly is one of your best bets to get a ground ball when he's executing. So I feel like every bullpen decision looks bad when it doesn't work, and every bullpen decision looks good when it works. I try not to get too caught up in it. I saw the logic behind what they wanted. They were like, listen, all he has to do is execute one time and he'll get a ground ball, which is what they needed. And I don't think there's any other reliever apart from like maybe Ian Seymour where you could go, this guy will get us a ground ball.
And kind of even, I'm going to even bounce off that a little bit more and say that I think Kevin Cash knows the best version of this Rays team has a very good Kevin Kelly in its bullpen. And I think he can see, as we can, that Kevin's struggling a little bit. And he needs to figure it out, or this team's not going to be able to reach where we want them to be able to reach. And I think that he left him out there because he said, I need you to figure it out. Like, I need you to, like, if we don't figure it out, we're in trouble. We need you to be good. So as much as it didn't work out, like you said, I kind of agree with it too. The one thing I will say about Kelly is that while he is pitching to a 5.4 ERA, which is very bad, and his xERA is even higher, his xFIP right now is 4.10, which you can say expected stats don't matter. But I guess what I'm getting at is he's at a 308 BABIP. So he's getting BABIP'd a little bit. He's, his ground ball rate is a little bit lower than what it's been in past seasons, which is something you'd like to see him improve on. He's walking guys a little bit more. So you really just like to see him get some more confidence. And unfortunately, I don't think that he can, for a reliever, I don't think sending him to Durham really helps him. Like, I think he needs to be getting these innings at the major league level. So I think that from Cash's perspective, I'm willing to sacrifice this one baseball game if it means that Kevin Kelly somehow through this process ends up figuring it out and returns to the pitcher that we know him to be. It is worth losing this one game to the White Sox, which is, as much as it's tough to lose to a team that is very, very bad. It's tough optically. In reality, they're not in division. They're not a team that we have to worry about a playoff tiebreaker. So if you're going to lose games, you don't want to lose any games, but in the grand scheme of the universe, this game is not as impactful as, say, the series against the Yankees. If you lose the series next week to the Yankees, especially when they're playing poorly and Aaron Judge is hurt, that hurts 100 times worse than losing this White Sox series, or even losing the Red series. If you lose that one, if you lose next week to the Yankees, that's going to hurt.
Yeah, 100%. That's our chance to get back into things.
Yes.
I don't want to say it's our last chance because there's still 2 months of baseball.
It's not. But it's going to be hard.
It feels important. It feels important.
Yes.
Because if you take 3 or 4 from the Yankees at the stadium, then you're right back in a playoff spot.
100%.
Because right now we're not. The season ends today. We are not in a playoff spot.
Correct.
So we got to get a wriggle on, really. And we got a lot of tough games coming up. Like, we got the Yankees and Dodgers next week.
Mm-hmm.
We got the Mariners, who are a direct opponent. Not next weekend, but the weekend after.
Yeah.
You've got a stretch where you face the Mariners, Guardians, Cubs, Blue Jays, Red Sox, in September. So you got to get a wriggle on. You got to get a move on. And the only way you're going to convince the front office to get reinforcements is you've got to start winning some games by hook or by crook. Speaking of, I feel like we should get on to that. Trade deadline.
Yes.
It's on Thursday.
Yes. Before we get into the trade deadline, I do want to quickly run over some of the transactions for the week, because I think that will help to couch our discussion a little bit, because I think those things may go hand in hand. Ha-Seong Kim, back on the injury list, retro to July 22nd. They think he's going to need the minimum, so the idea would be him coming back 1st of August, basically, or maybe 2nd of August, which, that would put him, it's not outside the realm of possibility to get him back for the Dodgers series. It will take him out most likely. I think it will have to take him out for the Yankee series, which is tough, but you might get him back for the Dodgers, which would be nice. You also saw Mason Montgomery coming back up from Durham to replace Taj going down, because they already had Boyle up. And with Ha-Seong Kim going on the 10-day IL, Johnny DeLuca returns from the 60-day IL. He hasn't played in a game yet. I haven't seen a lineup for today's game. I think it's a little early for that, but I haven't seen a lineup. But it'd be interesting to see, if he starts today or starts sometime in this series. But good to have, Johnny DeLuca back. Mason was very good for what it's worth down in Durham. He pitched very well. And I think he had 4 outings, pitched very well. So, whatever that's worth, hopefully that help, whatever he was working on down in Durham is helping him, and he can, we know what he can do when he's at his best. Like we all know that. It's just a question of, can he find the strike zone or not? So hopefully that he can do that coming back up here to the major league level. But those are the big transactions, in addition to obviously B-Loud being hurt. Richie's on a rehab assignment in Durham. Shane is still working through some weirdness with his, with his return from the IL. He's still throwing, still rehabbing, but he hit a little weird bump. Not exactly sure what it is, but he is supposed to throw again, I think, this weekend. So kind of unfortunately stuck in neutral with him. Those are the transactions.
Well, I guess also we kind of buried the lead. We also made a trade as well.
We did make a trade.
Where we acquired Tristan Gray from the White Sox, who is like a shortstop, third baseman, has played a bit of first as well. He was a Ray. He came up he made his major league debut as a Ray.
He did.
In which he hit a home run.
He did.
And since then, he played like 15 games between the Marlins and A's last year at the big league level. Hasn't played a big league game this year. It's kind of a AAA legend. Has spent a long time in AAA amongst a lot of organizations. Is probably not good enough to be an MLB player, but is a good AAA player. Do you look into the Rays acquiring Tristan Gray as anything?
If you want to play narrative ball, there's 2 narratives you can play with this move. Narrative ball 1, they feel like they need another shortstop or at least a middle infielder, because maybe they're looking to trade a middle infielder, whether that's Cabby, whether that's Walls. Maybe they need some more stability at the AAA level, or maybe for a spell here or there at the major league level, because they can making a move. The other narrative ball that I could play with this is maybe this is greasing the wheels for another trade with the White Sox before the deadline.
Maybe. Quite possibly. This is the second trade we've made with the White Sox this season.
It is. it's interesting.
It's interesting. We got Matt Tice as well. So the relationship the relationship has been there with the Chicago White Sox right now. So it's a very small move. That is unlikely to affect the 2025 Major League season, unless something goes very wrong. Unless Walls gets hurt immediately after we trade Cabby, and him still hurt, and then Tristan Gray will have to play shortstop for us. But that'll be when we had to get Oslevis Basabe to play for us for a bit. Yes. You know what I mean? That kind of genre.
Yeah. I do remember that.
Hey, he sold us a dream for a minute.
He did. He did. I remember having a very spirited conversation with Ben on the podcast about Basabe and Walls, because at that very moment, Basabe was playing pretty well.
We'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that.
So the Rays currently find themselves, as of today, with 5 games to play before the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And they currently find themselves a game and a half back of the 3rd wildcard spot. Fangraphs, for whatever you rate their playoff odds, now has the Rays at 23.3% playoff odds. We entered July with a 73.5 playoff odds. We are now at 23% playoff odds. So we've cut our playoff odds into a third of what we had at the start of the month.
Cool.
What should the Rays do? Should we start the fire sale? Should we get the reinforcements in? Should we do the weird Rays buy-sell hybrid? Well, I guess I guess there's two questions. What do you want the Rays to do, and what do you think the Rays will do?
So pure fan wants the Rays to win every year. I want them to go get Dylan Cease and Luis Robert. Like if I was just like, if you just said, hey, Zach, guess what? You're in charge and you have no consequences for whatever you do here. It doesn't matter. Nobody's gonna ask you about, hey, why'd you trade Curtis Mead? No one's gonna ask you those questions, and you can just do whatever you want. I would go get those two guys or someone approximating that. Someone who can kill lefties and who can play the outfield because the Morel situation is unfortunately not working out, at least at this time. And then another starter to bolster the rotation to either just bolster the rotation in general and or to allow somebody to go to the bullpen and bolster the bullpen, right? Alternatively, going and getting an elite bullpen arm, but those are very expensive, and I don't even really think that's necessarily the best idea. You'd have to go get a Yohan Duran type of guy for me to be happy. I don't want to go get a good-ish reliever. Those never work out, in my opinion, transferring over. So that's what I want. Like if I was just making a wish list to send to Eric, that's what I'd write down and send to him. The more realistic Rays fan in me thinks it's going to be more of what we've seen in previous years, where it's a little more, we'll make a move. We might trade Cabby. I don't really see and we'll replenish the farm. But in reality, the farm's in a good place. But like that's kind of what the Rays do around the trade deadline is they really build for the future. This is what they've done in recent years. So I just don't expect them to make a big move. We hear them like they're interested in or they're talking about like basically every major guy who's up for trade.
Everyone's on the block as well, except
correct.
For probably Caminero. Probably is the only one not on the block.
Correct. Yeah, and I mean, we know the Rays listen on everybody. So, but I don't think they're going to trade anybody major, and I don't think they're going to make any major trades, unfortunately. But I do think they should, because here's my one argument. If I'm going to make one for the Rays to make a big move, this might be the last year where you can have an infield, maybe the only year where you have a very good Junior Caminero, not in his prime yet, not in his apex, but a very good Junior Caminero. Whatever version of Brandon Lau is left, he's been very good this year, even better than I think we expected, even better than I expected. He's been excellent this year so far. Yandy Diaz, still at the height of his powers, and Ha-Seong Kim if he gets healthy. And Chandler Simpson in the outfield stealing a bunch of bases, and a pretty good starting pitching staff and a pretty good bullpen, theoretically, especially if you're talking about the postseason where you can shift guys around a little bit more, they could be excellent. So I think this is a really good roster with a lot of potential when everybody's healthy, right? And I don't know what the team's going to look like next year when some of those guys move on, right? The odds of Brandon Lau, Yandy, and Ha-Seong Kim all being on the roster to start 2026, I think is basically zero, right? So that being said, if you wanted to say, hey, this might be the last hurrah for this era of Rays baseball that we've been in here, I could make the argument of let's go for it. Let's do a Nelson Cruz type move to try to push us over the edge to get to the next level. Will the team do that? I don't think so. But that would be if you sat me in a room with Eric Neander, that would be my argument to him to try to convince him to go make a move.
Continue to win games. Don't sell just yet, says I Love Legos 2000.
I agree.
I mean, we got a few days. If we win the next two against the Reds or win the first game or two against the Yankees. But for me, I think we've got to win out till the deadline to convince the front office to go out and buy. Yeah. We got to win. We got to go on a W4. Because I think if we end up dropping this series to the Reds, and if we end up dropping the series to the Yankees, then what convincing evidence do we have that we can make a run? But same, especially with this new ownership coming in. I think that's going to be a thing to look at in the off season for sure. I think how this new ownership, if they come in September, is reported, if they come in before the off season starts, we could have a very interesting off season on our hands that involves stadium talk again, but also a potential increase in payroll and what that might entail as the new ownership put that kind of foot down.
Yeah. And I think there's going to be a really interesting conversation when we get to this offseason. Now that the number 5 situation has sort of resolved itself a little bit, maybe.
He's going to
will we be
appeal
able
it.
to? He's going to appeal it.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that, because I think one thing that is very weird right now is we're not technically on the hook for Wander's salary right now. But if we can't get out of that, how does that affect the team? I think we will be able to get out of it. But like with a new ownership group coming in, one of the things that I really want to see is them, extending some guys. But there is a conversation about, would they be willing to trade for somebody who's not a rental? The big trades we've seen the Rays do are young guys who are relatively low value but have a lot of control, or rental guys. We haven't really seen them make a trade for a established guy with 2 or 3 more years that would be expensive, right? That'll be interesting to see if they with a new ownership group, would they be willing to make some more trades like that?
Yeah, definitely. So it's going to be interesting. Zach Littell is a name I've decided in my brain. I have mentally said goodbye to Zach Littell.
Sure.
I think he's gone. I think him and Caballero are the two that I've mentally said goodbye in my head. Curtis Mead, I think, is a if we buy name that's going to go.
Agreed.
I think Chris Morel is also a name to watch as well, which is a shame because he was the centerpiece of the Paredes trade that ended up getting Kyle Tucker for the Cubs. But also, we don't win them all. We don't win them all, folks. I've been getting some word in that the Rays have made an offer for Cease.
Okay.
But I don't know what the offer is. I've just heard they put in an offer, but I don't know.
Supposedly somebody else made an offer for Cease. I feel like I saw on social media. I think, or no, the Red Sox, no, the Padres tried to trade for Jarren Duran with Cease as the centerpiece, and the Red Sox basically said no, which is interesting.
Which is crazy because it was Cease and they're really Ethan Salas, their catching prospect.
Which, if that's where the Padres are at, does make me wonder, do they have a relatively low-ish valuation on Cease to where he could be gettable? I mean, the Rays have the horses for sure, but maybe there's a world where we can get him for what we would consider a good value, where we're not overpaying for him. Maybe that's possible.
Right. Either that or Jarren Duran's got insane value that we don't know about yet.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's going to be an interesting deadline, but I could also see the most likely outcome is that we do very little. We only make little moves.
What would you want them to do? If we kind of talked about what I would want, what would you want them to do?
Anyone that's watched this show for the past 6 months will know who my number one trade target is, which is Luis Robert, by the way. But I also could see if the Rays really, really were feeling some sauce. Okay, Ketel Marte. I don't think this is not what I think is at all feasible, by the way. But if the Rays really wanted to, and produced a package of prospects that included Yoniel Cure and Curtis Mead and maybe even Carson Williams, you could go get Ketel Marte.
Well, and hasn't the word been that the Diamondbacks are open for business?
Pretty much. I mean, Eugenio Suarez is kind of the big one, but we've got Eugenio Suarez, but better at home in Junior Caminero. So we're not in the market for Suarez. But yeah, Ketel Marte, if Brandon Lau's going to be hurt still, what an ad he would be. Yeah, but that's pie in the sky. I would also love Emmanuel Clase. If only we had Miguel Andujar and Clint Frazier. Which actually we've got the second coming of those, by the way. If you've been following at all on social media, Spencer Jones and Jason Dominguez are the new thing. They're can't wait to get Paul Skeens for Spencer Jones and Jason Dominguez.
Jason Dominguez, I think is how you say his name.
Oh,
Which
sorry,
is- which-
Jason.
Which I only say because it's more fun to say Jason than
It is more fun to say Jason. Shall I tell you something that like everyone can go buy for a reasonable price and it won't even be a rental?
I want to know about that.
Yeah, it's a piece of merchandise from shop.rblrsports.com.
Yep.
I mean, all the best apparel for all the best Tampa Bay sports teams. We got your Bucks, you got your Rowdies, you got your Lightning, you got your Rays, you got your Sun as well. All in there at shop.rblrsports.com. You can rep them in the most fashionable way possible. And if you use the promo code FLAPPY, you get 10% off your entire order. And it will be accepted by the model as insane value added to your wardrobe. So you should go to shop.rblrsports.com today. Use promo code FLAPPY for 10% off your order.
And if you want some more insane value that is free, you can go to rblrsports.com every Monday for the Rays Roundtable. It's the best article in baseball every single week. Elite takes, elite perspective on multiple aspects of this team. rblrsports.com every Monday, Rays Roundtable. You got to be there. It's insane value.
Oh, it's so good. We got some of the best writers in the biz on it. I believe the latest one that came out last week was about bullpen help. It was about the trade deadline a little bit. It also took a look at some of our kind of outside looking in players on their long-term future with the team. It's a good one. It's
just good stuff, man. It's just an excellent article every week.
Yeah. And if you're like a big stat head, the stuff for you, like if you want to get into the nitty gritty, but it's also like kind of, if you're not that as well, it breaks it down in a really digestible way. So I love those. I love the roundtable. But can I like tell you about an interesting trend that I've seen in Rays baseball? I think this is a negative trend, but like Nick Bitsko got released a little bit ago. It was either earlier today or yesterday. He was the 2020 first round pick for the Rays. First round picks for the Rays are kind of cursed.
Yeah.
So let's talk about when the Rays became the Rays in 2008.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you their first round picks and how they've done. Tim Beckham. I mean,
he's okay. He was okay.
He ended up being a fringe MLB utility guy.
Yeah.
Who was really good for the first week he played on a new team. And then played really badly until he got DFA'd and then went to a new team and then was really good for a week. Probably finished with like 0 WAR, I would say.
0 WAR. Hang on. While you're going to the next one, I'm going to find that. I'm going to find that out.
In 2009, our first round pick was second baseman Lavon Washington. Never made the big leagues.
2.9 F WAR for Tim Beckham, who is still technically a free agent, by the way. He is not retired according to Fangraphs.
Right. Okay. Well, the sad thing about Lavon Washington is he did not sign with the Rays. 2010, Josh Sale. Never made the big leagues. Also in 2010, as the comp pick for Carl Crawford, Justin O'Connor. Never made the big leagues. Drew Vettelson was the Carlos Pena competitive pick. Didn't make the big leagues.
Ouch.
Taylor Guerrieri in 2011. He was a big time pitching prospect for a while when we drafted him. And then he got Tommy John in the minor leagues, in like AA, got Tommy John. And then he came back and then got done for PEDs.
Nice.
Eventually made it to the big leagues. I remember he pitched for the Blue Jays for a little bit, played for the Rangers for a little bit, did make it to the big leagues, but was never very good. 2011, Mikey Matuk. He ended up being an okay corner outfielder, played a little bit with the Rays, but played most of his career with the Tigers, and he was okay. He was a serviceable corner outfielder. Mostly with the Tigers, played a tiny bit with the Rays. 2011, Jake Hager. He also made it to the big leagues, but not with the Rays. He did it with the Mets and the D-backs. Brandon Martin also in 2011. Didn't make the big leagues. Tyler Goodell also made it to the big leagues with the Phillies in 2016. Didn't play after that. 2011 also Jeff Ames. Didn't make it to the big leagues as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
2011 Blake Snell.
There we go. Hey, there's somebody.
Yeah. He did well. He did pretty well.
He did
Won
pretty
the
well.
Cy Young Award for the Rays.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
2011 Kez Carter didn't play. 2011 Grayson Garvin didn't play in the big leagues. 2011 James Harris didn't play in the big leagues.
We had a lot of first-round picks in 2011.
Yeah, it's because of Carl Crawford and Carlos Pena and Rafael
true.
Soriano all departing at the same time.
True.
2012 Richie Schaefer. He did play a little bit in the big leagues, but not very much. 2013 Nick Schufo, who did make it to the big leagues as a catcher.
I remember him.
Played a little bit with the Rays, but bounced around as like a third or second catcher.
Yeah, I remember him.
2013, Ryan Stanek.
Yes, love Ryan Stanek.
The opener.
The opener.
Yeah. 2014, Casey Gillespie. Never made the big leagues as far as I'm aware. 2015, Garrett Whitley. Sounds like he should be a Major League Baseball player. As far as I'm aware, never made the big leagues. 2016, Josh Lowe.
There we go.
Solid corner outfielder. 2017, Brendan McKay. Oh, what could have been with Brendan McKay?
What could have been? That's a tough one to hear. I hate.
It was going to be the American Ohtani.
He was.
Hit a big league home run. Pitched a couple of good big league starts.
Just couldn't stay healthy.
2018, Matthew Liberatore. Best known for being the key piece that got Randy Arozarena to the Rays.
Yes.
And I think still pitches for the Cardinals, albeit not very well. 2019, Greg Jones.
Toolsy guy.
Did make it to the big leagues with the Rockies, but is not particularly great.
Yeah.
2020, Nick Bitsko, just been released.
Yeah.
2021, Carson Williams could be the next big thing. Still sit on a hot streak in AAA.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. And then after that, it's the clock is too soon to kind of tell on the rest of the guys, I would say. But like, I listed a lot of first round picks, and I'd say Blake Snell and Josh Lowe are the only like successful first round picks.
Oh, Ryan Stanek. I would say Ryan Stanek.
Okay.
I would say Ryan Stanek. But that's pretty much that. That's pretty much it.
So we had 3 out of
a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to know how the Rays match up with the rest of the league, but that definitely doesn't feel like it. Feels like the Rays should be better than that at acquire, like just because of how well we know they do at acquiring talent, like generally. And putting together a great roster. Maybe that's a little bit of the draft is just so unpredictable because baseball is such a high variance game. It's kind of hard to determine what people will look like, several years into the future. It's kind of why you see, it feels like the draft picks are either guys who have produced at a really high level in like the SEC or another big college conference where they've basically played roughly minor league level baseball, or like prep guys with lots of tools. That's kind of what we see being picked. So
we'll see if the Rays can kind of buck their luck, because 2016 is the most recent first round pick that's worked out, and that was 9 years ago.
Yeah, it feels like a long time ago. And Josh Lowe still feels pretty young, but I guess he's picked a long time ago.
He got drafted. I think he got drafted out of high school.
Oh, you're right about that.
Yeah, he got drafted out of East Cobb High. No, sorry, out of Pope High School in East Cobb, Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah. While we're talking about draft picks, I did want to quickly mention one other guy that was drafted by the Rays that I somehow don't know how I missed this, but somehow missed this. Brody Donay, who, if you are a Gator fan, you will know, was one of the best players for the Gators last season, which is not the only reason I'm talking about him. But the main reason I'm talking about it is because we got him in the 17th round, signed him for $125,000, and he has genuinely 70 power and a 60 to 70 arm and can play the outfield. And he can move a little bit. Massive dude, 6'5", 235. Huge dude, hits absolute tanks when he gets a hold of it. He played in the SEC, so he could be up at high A as soon as next year. Just a guy that I would be keeping your eye on, not just if you're a Gators fan, but because he has elite tools and he plays the outfield. That's something that the team needs right now. We need some more power hitting outfielders right now. And if he can develop a little bit, he's a guy that we need guys like that right now at the major league level. The outfield is a little light on hitting right now. And so having a power outfielder like that would be awesome. He's not a guy he's not a Wyatt Langford. He's not a Paul Skeens where we'll see him next year, but he's a guy that, has incredible tools, and it'll just be a question if he can figure it out. The swing and miss stuff with him is okay. It's not he's not as bad with a swing and miss as like Jock Caglione, unfortunately. But he still has some work to do for sure. But I think he's a guy worth watching and I think it could be a really, really good value for the Rays because we got him so late and for so cheap. And he has such crazy tools. So Brody Donay, just log that one back in the mind a little bit, and check back in on him maybe in a year and maybe be surprised at how far he's gotten in a year.
All right, Brady Donay. I'm going to remember that one. Our scout with the Gators, Zach Darb, is on it.
Yes.
Because I know nothing about amateur players. So I'm glad you were on that. I guess the only other thing we got to talk about is these upcoming games for this week.
Yes.
It's an important week.
It is.
For whether or not the Rays are going to stay in the playoff hunt or not. Because if we get swept by the Reds or by the Yankees, it feels like it's going to be real tough to get back into the mix. You got to win 2 out of 3 against the Reds. Really, you got to at least take one of those games if you want to stay afloat. But you got to take 2 out of 3 if you want to get back into it.
Yeah.
And then that series against the Yankees, I feel like, and that goes into the trade deadline. That's going to be, I think we're going to know a lot more about where this team's going for the remainder of the season after that Yankees series.
Yeah. So today we have Pepio versus Abbott, who is the Reds' best pitcher. That's a tough matchup. He is a lefty. So I regret to inform you that that's probably the worst possible matchup of all time. He is not a huge strikeout guy. So maybe there's a chance for us to get some, make some hay that way. Try to Babbitt Brown, maybe get some Chandler Simpson action. Then on tomorrow we get Boz versus Brady Singer, who is a guy with a lot of potential, but is kind of okay. He's not that much. He's about the same level as like Taj or Boz, who he's facing. And then in the New York series, none of the pitching matchups are set yet. But I was trying to find out if we're going to see any of New York's best pitchers.
The way it's lined up on my schedule, because I know we use different schedules.
Yeah.
The way it's lined up for me is the first game of the Yankees series is going to be Rasmussen versus Schlittler.
Nice. Well,
I had to make sure I said that correctly.
And then
who is kind of a AAA call-up while other guys are injured. Right. Cam Schlittler. He did all right in his first major league start. He did okay. So we'll see. But Rasmussen is arguably our best pitcher at the moment. So
that's
he's going to go out there. And then I'd imagine it would be Joe Boyle against Max Fried in the second game.
Okay.
Which is a big prove-it game for Joe Boyle, I suppose.
It is.
Because Max Fried is going to be tough. And then if he's not traded, we got Zach Littell against Will Warren.
I like that matchup. That's a good matchup for the Rays.
Yeah, and then we'd have Pepio for the fourth game of that series against what they expect to be Marcus Stroman.
Yeah. Stroman's
so
not that good.
The Boyle-Freed game is an interesting one, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's not the worst set of matchups ever. Freed's just tough because he's, again, just a terrible matchup for the Rays. So it's just one where you got to hope you can keep it close and get to the bullpen because, frankly, the Yankees are playing about as bad as the Rays are right now.
Yeah,
they're playing terrible. Yeah. And losing Aaron Judge, like, that's kind of their offense. Like, Stanton's back, so he's providing a little bit more for them, and the Jazz will occasionally get him something. But when you lose Aaron Judge out of the offense, that, to me, like, yeah. When you lose the best player in baseball, it's going to hurt your lineup. So this would be a big series to try to find a way. We obviously don't want anybody to be hurt ever, but with him not available, you've got to win that. You got to take 3. You just have to. Got to try.
If we lose the Reds and the Yankees series, I don't want to say I'm out on the season, but I'll be close. You'll have to do some talking me off the edge, I think.
Well, and I think that the only thing to keep in mind if they do happen to play poorly there is, as much as that would be bad, the last month of the season, as much as it is a hard schedule, it also basically puts the Rays' fate in their own hands. They play the Mariners for 3, the Blue Jays for 4, the Red Sox for 3, and the Blue Jays for 3 again. So those are all teams that are in your way in the playoff hunt, right? So whether you'd rather be facing those teams at the end of the season or not, you're gonna have games in front of you that, if you win, can directly affect your ability to make the playoffs. So even though, like, I don't want to be in the scenario where we're like, we got to win all these games. Like, it's gonna be a while before it's over, just because you're gonna have so much, up to your own destiny, and you can control your own destiny. Here's what I'm trying to say, through the end of the season, because you play so many of the teams that are directly in front of us right now in the wild card. It would be great to make up some ground with the Yankees, who are also in front of us, and to maybe try to beat up on them a little bit when they're down, and maybe force them to either make some bad moves in panic mode, or to sell, which I don't think the Yankees will ever do, probably. But maybe force them to make some bad moves in a panic, which would be good long term for us. So I'm not too scared of Ryan McMahon, although he has kind of killed the Rays. I don't think he's going to make a huge he's good defensively, so that will help them because they've been so bad defensively. I don't know if you've watched any Yankees games. Those guys just straight up are struggling with the fundamentals of positioning that you learn in high school, where to position yourself when a ball goes to the outfield. So they need some defensive help, and then he'll provide that. But it's not gonna it's over. If they got Suarez, I would have been more nervous. But McMahon is just kind of a above average, defender and a league average offense guy.
Yeah. It's not a huge needle mover, I don't think. Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see how it all goes. We'll see how it all plays out. I think we just got to go out there and win some damn baseball games.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, that's the name of the game. You'd love for the other team to just collapse and it to be a golden road all the way to the playoffs. But that's not how it is. You're going to have to beat the teams in front of you. And the good thing that I think gives me more hope than we had in sort of a similar position. We were at a worse position, I think, last year than we are right now.
For sure.
But we have seen this team kick it into high gear. We've seen it happen. So we know it's possible. And I guess, the hope will be that we can keep our head above water until we get Ha-Seong Kim and Brandon Lau back. And then when they return, my hope would be we can kind of kick it into high gear once again and make up some ground. That's kind of the path I see for the Rays.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. And they've got the potential to do it. Can we all stay healthy at the same time?
Yes.
That's the question.
It's always the question with the Rays. And, honestly, Brandon Lau has been more healthy this year than he's been in a long time. So we're going to, if all he misses this year are these 2 little stints, I'll take that all day. I'll take that all day because he's been excellent. So if we can get him back, and I think the Rays are being very careful with him because they know this team has potential and they know the best version of this team has him healthy. So they're willing to sacrifice a couple games here and there if they can get him for longer stretches at close to full health. So that's what we got to hope for.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. But we're going to be here no matter what. Whether they are falling off a cliff or climbing back up, today could be the day that it starts to go in the right direction. We could, maybe we can buck the trend of playing poorly against left-handed starters. Maybe we can figure something out and get some momentum going into the Yankees series. It would be crazy good to win these last 2 games versus the Reds, get good momentum. Got to find a way for starters to get deep. Cannot afford to go into the Yankee series, a 4-game series with no days off, with an unrested bullpen. The starters have got to find a way to go deep in games, and the bullpen's got to do something. We got to have Mason Montgomery's got to figure it out and be good. So a lot of ifs, but I don't know. I believe in this team. I've seen them play excellent. We've seen we saw how good they looked in the Orioles series. And I know they can do that again. Just be a question of if. It's up to them. That's kind of, as much as it's nerve-wracking and you feel like we don't know what's going to happen. To take something from Aaron Boone, it's all in front of them.
It's right in front of us. Pepio, Baz, are you uncles or are you nephews? We got to find out right now. You got to prove that you are going to reach Unc status in the good way, not like what those Gen Zers are saying that you're old.
Yes,
I want you to sit those kids in Cincinnati down in order.
Yes,
teach them a lesson.
That's what we need. That's what we need from our guys. And like I said, we're going to be here no matter what. We hope you all be here as well. We appreciate all of you joining us along this ride as we're talking Rays. We're walking through what's going on this year. What do you guys think will be the moves that are going to be made at the trade deadline? Let us know. If you enjoyed the show and you want to know whenever we go live, do us a massive favor and subscribe and follow wherever you enjoy the podcast on. It helps us out so much. It's free, doesn't sign you up for anything, but it helps us out so much. It lets us know that you appreciate what we're doing, and it'll let you know whenever we're going live. So that's our show for this week. It's going to be a very impactful week in Rays baseball, and regardless of the outcome, it'll be Rays up.
Rays up.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.